This is so exciting, but at the same time terrifying because we don't know where this is going. 2 to 3 hours later, it had completed that 5 weeks of work.
3 years ago, it didn't exist.
Not at this level. I was writing an email and I was in a rush and I didn't have time to read it over and I sent it out. And I got an email back and it was like, what are you talking about? And then I read it and I was like, I can't believe I did that.
Would they still need to understand code?
Absolutely.
Okay. We have to slow it down. We try to put some limits on it.
It's not necessarily people are losing their jobs, but they need to adapt to a different way of working.
You have to be careful with what you say now.
Right, right.
The first jobs that are going to be going away, do you worry that AI is going to replace you? Bună ziua și bine v-am găsit la un nou episod al podcastului nostru despre tehnologie, Rethink IT. Suntem aici la oficiul Moldova Innovation Technology Park, unde v-am obișnuit deja să vorbim despre cazuri de succes, despre companii din Moldova sau din străinătate care dezvoltă produse interesante, despre cum statul are grijă ca noi să devenim o țară digitalizată și să ne dezvoltăm în rând cu restul lumii. Și astăzi o să vorbim în limba engleză cu cineva care să ne povestească despre cum se revoluționează piața livrărilor și a depozitelor din lume. Kevin, hi, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. We've had a really interesting conversation as a warm-up.
Yeah.
So let's tell everybody really quickly what your company does.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the topic itself.
Okay. So we're CloudX Systems. We create WMS systems, warehouse management. So we've been building it, I guess, for about 14 or 15 years now. It was a internal tool used by our parent company, Bergen Logistics. And about 6 or 7 years ago, we spun it off as its own product and are now just rebuilding the system to sell as a SaaS platform. So it's a warehouse management system that is running everything from pick, pack, inventory. It really helps.
But you started not in this field. That's what's interesting.
Me personally, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started as an optician back in the 90s, and in the mid 90s, I got into IT by wanting to,
which was an entirely magical thing, right?
Yeah.
If you were talking about internet and IT,
nobody knew what the internet was at that point. It was brand new, and I think there was only one other company out there selling contact lenses online that was big at the time.
And I think you had 100 customers in the entire United States
yeah,
that had internet.
It wasn't very big. So, but I learned how to code and I built my own website, and it was interesting because of the complexity of contact lenses with all the different variables. So I really had to learn JavaScript in order to be able to build the shopping cart because of all the different variables. So it was very customized for the time.
So basically you were there to witness the entire internet revolution, software revolution, software becoming a part of our lives and digital everything, and being involved in it. I don't know. So you said the product that you have today is 15 years old, but before that, was it still a hobby, or was it also something you are doing on a daily basis, software developing and products?
So I always stayed within development, building websites for people or whatever the case may be. It was a little bit later in life that I decided to move over to just doing IT. And I started as a developer for a company that was doing Halloween costumes. And that's all they did. They had about 14 websites selling Halloween costumes, and we had to be building these sites for them and, managing the
because Halloween is big in the US.
Huge.
July or August, all the stores open, the Halloween stores, and you can dress as whoever you want to dress like.
Yeah, it's a big holiday for us, and it was very interesting to kind of that was my first step into the supply chain and warehousing. was through that company.
So what made you make the jump into, you know what, I'm going to make my own thing about the supply chain?
So this, I didn't personally start CloudX or this company. It was started out of Bergen Logistics. I was one of the early developers on it. When I started, we actually already had, I think, 3 people in Moldova who were working with us. So we've been working with developers in Moldova since the inception, really, of CloudX. Once again, back then it was called Rex 11 here. It had a separate name. So I joined in as a developer very early, and really was, back then we were even, they were still doing billing on paper, and that was one of my big projects in the beginning, was to create the billing system for the warehouse management. So I was in early, and then from there I moved up to senior developer, and then director and VP. So I just kind of moved up through the chain. But it was originally started, I guess it was a couple of years before I had joined.
So let's explain to the people the complexity of warehousing in general, because we as customers, we don't know, nor do we care about how it actually works. I see an item online, I purchase it, and I expect it to just magically appear a day or 2 or a week later at my doorstep.
Right.
What's behind it, actually?
A lot. So we've built this system to be used by either brands themselves or 3PLs. 3PL is third-party logistics. So what most people don't realize is when they're ordering something online through Amazon or wherever the case may be, a Shopify, those brands that they're buying aren't actually warehousing it and shipping it out themselves. Their orders are coming to us where we're warehousing it for them, and then we pick it, we pack it, we ship it, we do all of the
So it's millions of
logistics.
categories of items,
Millions.
all sizes
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah, it's, I mean, we've got, I guess, somewhere around 1.5 million square feet of warehousing in just a few warehouses.
And that's just your company.
Yeah.
Because
So-
Amazon also has their own warehouses, especially with their own Amazon products that they have. And, you know, all the other logistics companies have the same thing. So going back to how the process works, somebody makes a purchase and then you get a notification in your system that item number, whatever, shelved in that state, in this warehouse, on that floor, has to be picked up.
Yeah.
And then do you have to wait for a specific number of items to group up, or each individual item is picked? How does it work?
So there's multiple ways that it can work. When you're talking about just single items out there, they call it a discrete pick, where you'll just send someone out to go and pick that. But if you're selling a lot of the same item,
Like I want to buy 4 containers of batteries.
yeah. So if there's a lot of people buying batteries at the same time, and we get all those orders, we do what's called a bulk or a wave, and those will all be put together into a single pick ticket almost. And people will go out and they will pick all of those units and then bring it back to packing, where they get separated out into the individual orders.
So how did it used to work before everything was digital, and how it works now? Is there a big
It was
difference?
paper. It was paper before, and I've seen a couple of warehouses that work on paper, and it's one of the things, and we discussed earlier, was how different that is. And when you try and put a warehouse management system in there, sometimes they say, well, paper's faster. You know, I can just send someone out, and they don't have to do all this scanning and scan 50 items and then scan it again at packing.
If the scanner doesn't work.
Yeah, there's always something that happens, but they're not getting. It's with the warehouse management system, obviously you've got better control over your inventory, less mistakes. So in the long run, you end up saving a lot of time and money by using a warehouse management system as opposed
Mainly
to
because you
paper.
can actually see what items are more popular, what items are
absolutely.
getting stored for more.
Absolutely, the reporting alone that you get on that, and I'm sure we're going to get into reporting and machine learning and
Yes.
AI and
Yes.
all the fun stuff.
But before we get into that, you said you already had Moldovan developers right at the beginning. How did actually, that was about 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Moldova didn't even have this then.
There was no
How was
IT
this
part.
contact made?
That
if you
is,
know?
so I don't know that, and I've asked that question, and I think all the people who do know are gone now. But
But you made, once you got higher in the position, you wanted to stay with Moldovan developers.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We see such a benefit from what we get from the team here. And at one point, we were kind of split evenly as to how many developers were in the U.S. and how many were in Moldova. And at this point, we have 0 in the U.S. and it's all been moved over here.
Nice.
Yeah.
I want to compliment the Moldovan developers. What differentiates a Moldovan developer from, let's say, a Western, not specifically American, a Western developer?
I mean, obviously, there's the financial difference. I mean, but if you go beyond that, I feel like, I mean,
Would you call it a hunger to prove themselves?
I don't know if it's a hunger, but it's definitely a desire, and it's a desire to keep learning and to keep advancing themselves. I mean, when I talk to my team, they're always wanting to use new tools or go into new technologies, and they're suggesting things to me that maybe I haven't even heard of yet. And it's definitely a desire.
So in this case, you're the one that has to do the homework, because they're like,
bringing things
you
to
have
me.
to keep us entertained and give us all the toys that we need for us to keep working for you.
Absolutely. And I think it's because of the culture of IT here, that it's so competitive here that they're bringing that competitiveness to us.
But is it a problem that you would have developers from a country that doesn't have a very developed, logistics system to work on a logistics product?
It is definitely a challenge at times. Our overall parent company is out of Sweden. It's a Landers, Landers Group. And we have warehouses all over the EU as well. But we do offer opportunities for the developers to come to the US or to go into the EU and visit the actual locations.
To understand how it actually works.
They have to. It's very important. And it's not just the developers who are, the back-end developers. We've got front-end, we've got QA. I mean, QA has to see how it's being used and see, find how they may be able to write test cases and really understand how that software is being used.
So I guess it's a constant retraining, reskilling for the employees. Okay, that's good to know. Well, we spoke earlier that we don't have Amazon. We have Temu here. We have Nova Post. We have Fan Courier and companies like that. And considering, we spoke at length about Temu, but considering how fast they're growing worldwide, what challenges does that poses for a product like yours, where the number of items and the destinations grows, I'm guessing, exponentially? There's more and more e-commerce, more and more items that we want to purchase at a cheaper price. Does your software has to spread out even more? How do you approach this concept?
So
we had 1 million customers last year. Now we have 15. Oh, how does it work?
So the scaling of the system itself is it's pretty good. I mean, we don't have to scale too much there, but when we're starting to spread out, it's the connections that we have to make, the integrations with all the different carriers and all of the different platforms like Temu or Shopify or whoever the case may be. So it's the amount of integrations that we have to do into our software to be able to handle this is exponential.
So now that we know for years what people are buying, and before, with the paperwork and even at the beginning of the digital era, we would do the reports and we would know how much stuff we sold. But that as a business doesn't necessarily work for anybody on a larger scale, because they want to also be able to predict what they're going to be selling. I know Amazon does it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're going to buy 1,000,000 feet of something and just store it because we know next month this is going to be sold.
Yeah.
How does this move from reactive to predictive warehousing work?
So that's very interesting, and that's where we're getting to now. So one of the things that we've just done recently at CloudX is we brought our data science team here to Moldova. So now we have data scientists, engineer, analysts, and that's where you really start getting into that machine learning and having these different tools to dive into the data warehouse and pull it apart and understand and be able to predict these different things.
I'm guessing it's also some social elements to it, right? You have to understand behavioral parts of humans.
Yeah, we haven't really gone into at least in our system into the behavioral side of things yet. I think companies like Amazon, where the shopping is done on that platform, or Shopify, or any of those, they're getting into the behavioral side. Ours is more, predicting where we may see ebbs and flows as far as orders for certain products or things like that. But
so, like right now, with what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, what kind of hell are warehouses or shipping companies finding themselves in?
So a big part of it is obviously on the transportation side. It's becoming more expensive. Products are getting more expensive. There's the tariffs. Tariffs really have played a big part in the U.S.
Was there a reduction in the number of items?
There has been, as well as and coming from different places, depending on where they were coming from. But the prices and what it's costing now to send them, and it's changed a lot. But with the oil and what's happening now, same thing is going to happen, and it's going to be hard to kind of predict to see where that goes.
We already have. We can see the effects of what's going on with our own eyes here in Chișinău. A month ago, traffic was insane. Like, I would spend 3 hours on my way to work. Now, I get to work in 40 minutes. Because gas is so expensive, people are choosing to walk or bike or take public transportation. And that's the immediate first effect. What I'm thinking about is the avalanche effect that we're going to have after this.
Yeah.
So we already have limited amounts of diesel. A lot of gas stations don't even stock it anymore. And then, okay, this is sold out. One part is clear, that transportation is going to be a lot harder. They're going to have to pick specific, either item price brackets or, mainly important items or something like that. It's going to cost a lot more. So they have to raise their prices. And then the next guy raises their prices, and so on and so forth, until when I'm going to want to buy a pair of new shoes, it's going to cost 4 times as much.
Sure.
And usually what happens is those prices never go down. So like if they reopen the Strait of Hormuz today, the prices are going to stay the same.
It always happens.
Yeah. Nobody ever goes like, you know what, let's lower the prices.
Yeah.
No, we want to keep the profit.
They find out what people are willing to pay for it, and then they keep it there.
This is a good price.
Right.
So speaking just like hypothetically, there should be, if they reopen the Strait of Hormuz, everyone makes peace, we're all big friends again, the prices should immediately go back down, right? In a few months, right. Because shipping companies and whatever are already paying a premium to get the items delivered. Now, once they start getting the new items from, diesels flowing again and all that stuff, the prices should go back down. That's in ideal lab conditions,
in theory,
right?
Yes.
Does that mean that you also have to increase prices for your software?
For the software, no, because it's not affecting, picking an item that costs $4 or picking a whole pallet that costs $1,000. for the software to process that information, it's the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really affect us and our prices.
But the warehousing part,
The warehousing part, it definitely does, especially on the shipping side. I mean, that's where we're going to see it the most. Yeah, and obviously the brands are charging more.
so what I'm trying to get at is not, I just want to talk geopolitics with you, is we are so dependent on the shipping side of the world, which is invisible always. We just see a truck or we just see a boat. That's all we see. But when we realize how much we're dependent on where the items are made and how they get to us and how much that costs and how many millions of mouths that has to feed, and so the company has to cover those costs and so forth. And with us being so integrated, whenever something as important as the war with Iran happens, the whole planet is going to suffer from, unless we're maybe China, where we make all the stuff here ourselves, but even they are going to get affected because they get their gas. Guess where we're from?
Right.
The same place.
Absolutely.
So,
and I mean, they will be affected in certain circumstances because it's a supply chain, right? And if someone in the EU or the US is maybe not going to buy as much from China because it's costing more to get there. So I think ultimately it's a domino effect that really kind of impacts everyone. It's a whole supply chain, right?
Let's talk about software. We started this conversation during our coffee. There's a whole big thing going on with vibe coding.
Yes.
And I know you've dived into it as well. Yeah. And if you want to tell people what you tried to do and how impressed you were with what you did as a first experiment with it.
Sure. So as part of our warehouse management system, we have other pieces that are connected to it. And one of them is dock management. And it's not a very difficult software. It's fairly easy. When you get into yard management, gate management, it gets a little more expansive, but dock management's pretty simple. So we have a SaaS platform that we use, and it's connected to our system. And I wanted to see what it would take to be able to replace that. So I used AI to try this, Claude Code. Mm-hmm. Claude is an AI that's from Anthropic. And I was very impressed with what it was able to do. So I asked it to research multiple different dock systems that are available as SaaS platforms and get as much information about the feature sets that it could. So it did all of the investigation for me. Then I asked it to create a development plan as to what it would take to create a similar system. And I would say within 20 minutes, it gave me a full development plan, and it told me that it would take a single developer somewhere around 5 weeks to code it by hand.
And that's just the first part of it, right?
Yeah, that's for the dock management system.
Okay.
Yeah. It told me about 5 weeks, and then it proceeded to ask me if I wanted to get started. So,
and you said yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Why not? 2 to 3 hours later, it had completed that 5 weeks of work.
How much input did you have to have during this time?
So it would ask me certain questions along the way, and I would also take a look at the files that it was creating to look at, how it was architecting this solution. So you do have to have human in the loop. It's very important, and but it was very impressive with what it did. And within 4 hours, I had it live on a test server and was actually walking through the system, and even the design of it was fairly good. So it's very interesting when you take a look at this and see how it's going to impact our industry in the future.
3 years ago, it didn't exist.
No, not at this level. No, even a year ago, and I had mentioned to you that I had looked at developing with AI and using it to write code, and I had given it a basic algorithm to do, and fairly basic. and it was not able to accomplish it the way that I wanted to. And here we are a year later, and it's writing a complete platform for me. And there's a big difference between putting AI into your development lifecycle and doing something like what I did, where it was kind of a greenfield platform or project.
My guess is a lot of companies are going to shift into cutting developers and just doing it all with AI, because like you said, you save time, you obviously save a lot of money with it. If it's not something super complicated that can be done like this, why not do it? Which means that the entire sector, the first sector that's going to be affected is obviously the development side of IT. So what should the people fear or worry about or be prepared for when this actually takes over? I'm guessing in a year, because the change that we're witnessing is so incredibly fast. It's even hard to read the news about it, because every day something big gets announced or some company fires a bazillion people because they don't need them anymore.
Yeah. So I think that you're going to find that it's not necessarily people are losing their jobs, but they need to adapt to a different way of working. It is going to be difficult for the junior developers, the guys just getting out of school. They learn these new languages. These languages are being written now using AI and probably being written better than what they're doing coming out of school. So they're going to learn how to use these tools and orchestrate these tools to create these different softwares. That's going to be important.
Would they still need to understand code?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You still need human in the loop. You still need to really make sure that the architecture of what it's building is correct. But it's as I had mentioned, we took one of our software repos and put it into Claude Code, and it read the entire thing and told us exactly what it was doing, and it understands the context, and it can even replicate the style of coding or the different methodologies that you're using when you're creating these things. But you do need to understand at a pretty decent level what it's actually doing.
But what if you take it and you put it back into Claude and you say, hey, explain to me what this is?
It'll tell you exactly what it's
So you don't actually have to know the code then.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, Claude Code or Anthropic, they put out the actual code base for what they use when they do a pull request.
Oh.
So
So they're being transparent about it.
Oh yeah, and they're allowing everyone else to use it, and it's multiple agents, and one is looking for bugs, one is looking at all of the comments, one is looking at your past pull requests to make sure. So it's really doing, many different jobs, and almost every week they're releasing something new that it's like, I can't believe they're doing this.
What do you think are the first jobs that are going to be going away? Would it be QA? Would it be going away in the traditional sense?
Yeah.
Let's say you don't have to actually do the tests and find the bugs anymore. You just have to manage 50 agents that do that.
I think
is it just going to be entirely replaced?
No, I don't think it's going to be entirely replaced. I think, when machine learning became a thing, how many ever years ago that was, everybody was like, oh my God, my job is going away. But now people don't even say machine learning in normal conversation.
Yeah.
AI is going to be the same way. It's just going to be expected that it's there. And our jobs are just going to change in a way where we're just using those tools. So I think, when I say AI is going to go away, just the terminology, not AI itself.
We don't want Terminator to find us after this.
So I think it's just a major shift in the way that we work now. And it's difficult. as a leader of a team,
You have to be careful with
ensure-
what you say now.
Right, right, and they're going to watch this.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, "Oh, great!" But no, it really is. It's the messaging is very important, and they need to understand that their jobs aren't going away. I have a backlog of at least 2 years worth of work to do. So if they increase their productivity by 100%, I still have work for them. So that's not going away. But it's a shift in how we're working.
So you as a company now have to focus on not only keeping your employees happy and motivated to work for you, but also reskilling them to adapt to this new changes, find new jobs, or transform their job in a way that they don't get eaten by the AI revolution.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like, do you I don't know, is there conventions for it? Is there because it's a new field, no one has the rule book.
Right. So, and it's interesting you say that. I was just at a convention a couple weeks ago, and there were people on a panel from Anthropic, from OpenAI, and even they were saying, they said, this is so exciting, but at the same time terrifying because we don't know where this is going. So it's so wide open, and it's hard to keep up with it. But yeah, we need to constantly be educating them and making sure that, and funny enough, I mean, TikTok, I don't know if it's not a big thing in Moldova.
It is a big thing.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay. I can open TikTok and scroll. Every single video is going to be about AI and Claude Code. And you learn a lot just about what is out there from social media. But there's podcasts, there's these conventions, and
I think
we
at
really
some point with listening all this, you start getting scared. It's like I have to stop listening to podcasts about it.
it's true. I mean, there's so much information. It's coming at us so fast that it is an exciting but scary time because it is uncertain where it's going to end up.
Now, you as a business person, do you worry that AI is going to replace you?
I mean,
Because I saw news yesterday that Zuckerberg is building himself a CEO agentic AI who's going to be doing his job. And the first comment made me laugh actually out loud, where it said, so then we don't have to pay CEOs as much, right?
Right, exactly. I wouldn't say worried, but I'm definitely keeping my eye open as to what I need to do to stay relevant. I mean, with all the information out there, with the different abilities of AI, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. So I think you need to always, sleep with one eye open.
Or even your product. Imagine tomorrow Claude comes out and says, we made this new AI agent that handles entirely by itself logistics of any kind. And your company immediately goes, well, that's it.
So there is that fear, and I think that any of the kind of smaller companies that have a warehouse management system, that's a real fear, because as I had said, there's these smaller SaaS platforms, and in a few hours to a couple days, you can replicate something like that, right? So now you're creating these throwaway apps that you can just create overnight and use it, and then when you're done with it, create something new. So I think that is a real fear for the smaller ones. The enterprise size or the medium to large size companies,
you also kind of have a buffer, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a buffer in there, and we've got so much knowledge of warehousing that has been put into our system. It was originally created for our parent company, Bergen Logistics, which was then bought by Landers. Long story. But they've got 30 plus years, and we always say that it's a system that's created by operators for operators, right? So there's that inherent knowledge that goes into these systems of what's the best way to do things.
I would add for now.
Yes. Yes.
Because AI is instant, right?
It is.
Like imagine everything that Google knows, and they know a lot of things. If they release this, they have all the information that they can get about whatever industry that they need. And they go, okay, Gemini now does creative. You want to Dune 3? There you go. You got it.
Yep.
Just pay us not what you spend $300 million paying 1,000 people doing it. Give us 50 and we'll just do it for you. And
it's getting,
that's when the bigger fish can fry the smaller fish. You know, I always quote Star Wars when they say there's always a bigger fish that can eat yours.
Absolutely.
So like, I'm guessing at some point, and the EU is already doing it, we have to slow it down in a way that, okay, this is all cool and exciting and we all want to be productive. Ideally, we all want to live like in Wall-E, you know, we lay down in chairs, we get burgers and slushies and whatever, and this little robot just does everything for us. But at some point, we will start losing people on the lower educated side. They will be the first ones to lose jobs. And then you get to middle class and then, you know, higher and higher. And we become some sort of cyberpunk world where there's one overlord of the whole thing. And obviously it all goes to, you know, it's going to hit the fan.
Eventually.
Yeah. So do you think we have to slow it down? We try to like put some limits on it?
I definitely think so. And even within our company, we're needing to put a governance framework around things because you've got, you know, 50 different people using 50 different AIs. You know, you need to make sure that you're controlling what's being used and how it's being used. But yeah, I think the way that the EU is doing it and starting to put some guardrails up, I think is very smart because it can get out of control fast.
Especially now with companies such as OpenAI, you know, opening their system to the Pentagon. That's already the next level.
So that was the big thing with Anthropic, right? They
got punished for it.
Yeah, badly. But they're doing all right. I mean, with what they're doing with Claude Code, I mean, it's amazing. They've got more users now than ever. So,
but what do you think about like data protection and privacy and whatnot?
It's very important.
Since 50 people are using 50 AIs, you don't want them giving documentation. Because obviously we hope that Claude is not going to use that information to sell it, whatever.
Right.
But from what we see with OpenAI, they don't really mind obtaining it and using it, and it's not hard for them to train their own model into detecting secret important information to just like, hey, hello, look what we got.
Yeah, they all say if you're using a company account that it's not used to train their own models. We hope
that's legal
true.
Language.
Yeah, we hope that's true. But yeah, that is one of the things. I mean, we have definite guardrails around what can be put into these AIs, especially if it's not one that is a company account or one that's been approved by me or anyone else within the organization.
I just remembered. So a few days ago, I saw a TikTok video of some sort of real estate influencer. And he said, let me tell you how ChatGPT cost me $50 million. So he was working on a deal. The buyer and the seller agreed to do the transaction. And then the seller decides to ask ChatGPT if the price is good. And ChatGPT says, no, you could ask for more. And somehow, almost at the same time, the buyer does the same thing. And ChatGPT says, you can pay less for it. So the transaction failed because some guy decided to ask a large language model that all it does is predict words. That's it. It doesn't have a logic. It's not a human where it goes, let me think about it. No, it's just like, what would be the next word that you would like to hear that you would say, great, I love your response.
Yeah.
It's basically like talking to the Facebook algorithm, right? It's not any different. So they cost him $50 million.
Yeah, it's funny because when you get these responses back and it's like that's a very thoughtful question, Kevin. It's like
You're a
just,
genius.
It's just stroking ego, right? So it is you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's not everything that comes out of it is not 100% true, and that goes with the code itself. So we're still human in the loop. You still need to have a head on your shoulders and make sure that you're doing things.
That's why I say we have to work really, really hard on AI education.
Yeah.
I started teaching just yesterday at the School of Journalism, AI in journalism. And I showed to all of my students why working with AI, one, is dangerous, two, is complicated, and three, you never get the same answer. So I had 12 students all type in the same prompt. And everybody got a different answer, and two of them got I don't understand what you mean. So I was like, see, lesson number one, what it tells you is not true. It's just what it thought at that millisecond would be the right combination of words. What it told you is the same thing. And then we did one prompt on my computer together to analyze a report, blah, 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 and write a story. And, it was a pretty big prompt. And they're like, it's not going to work. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to work. That's lesson number two. You never know if it's actually going to work.
Sure.
And then I press enter. It does something. It did not follow half of my instructions. So I'm like, hello, you didn't follow half of my instructions. And before I press enter, I say, what do you think it will tell me if I say you did not follow my instructions? And they're like, it will probably tell you to leave it alone. I'm like, that's a valid answer. Let's see if it does it. I press enter and it says, I'm a large language model. I cannot answer you this question. And I'm like, lesson number 4. What if we say please? So I literally just type in please and press enter and it does it. It was so funny.
Yeah.
It was insane. And it did exactly what I asked it to do in the first place, followed all of the instructions. And I'm like, this is a lottery, guys.
Yeah.
That's why you always have to see yourselves as journalists, not as a reporter, but as the editor-in-chief now.
Yeah.
Because you have this minion army of AIs that can help you do a trillion things at the same time. You can write the most amazing stories if you make sure to read them and never lie, because that thing will lie to you all day long.
Absolutely.
And then you catch it and say, yeah, you're right. I lied.
Yeah.
Oops.
I learned my lesson. I was writing an email and I was in a rush and I didn't have time to read it over and I sent it out. And I got an email back and it was like, what are you talking about? And then I read it and I was like, I can't believe I did that. So it's true. I mean, you really have to make sure you're taking a look at it.
We need an AI limiter.
Yeah.
So you put something into AI and then you have this chatbot that like, no, did you check this? Because wait, this is not right.
Yeah. And it's embarrassing when you do that. So,
well, Kevin, I was very happy to talk to you about this.
It's been great.
Next time we should do it, in a few years when hopefully we'll still be here.
Yeah,
and Skynet
we'll
doesn't take over.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and good luck with developing products with vibe coding, because I'm guessing in a few years that's the only thing that's going to happen.
It's going to be interesting.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Prieteni, acesta a fost episodul. Sper că v-a plăcut și ați aflat cum funcționează sistemele de logistică în lume, dar și care sunt cumva schimbările radicale pe care le face în viața noastră inteligența artificială. Mulțumesc, ne vedem data viitoare.